Games Montreal beer reviews. This time around, it's in episode 17, I'm doing another German beer. It's just called Duckstein Rotblondes Original, something like that. Pardon my German pronunciation. Or you could just call it Duckstein or Duckstein. It's from Hamburg, and it's an alt beer, but I guess some people from Düsseldorf might argue that this is not an authentic one, because, you know, authentic alt beers must be brewed in Düsseldorf. Regardless of what they think, I've had this beer on tap and it was really impressive. It's probably the best alt beer I've had so far. So let's see how this compares to the bottled version. 4.9% is the ABV on this one, and the cap is just a blank black one, but there's sort of a freshness seal guaranteed by the brewmaster. It's brewed in Hamburg by the Holsten brewery, but didn't know that, but it's actually owned by Carlsberg nowadays. So without further ado, let's crack open the Duckstein and start reviewing. Alright guys, I've had some spillage problems, some major ones actually. When I just popped the cap open, it started spilling out of the bottle. So anyways, I gave it a couple of minutes and it settled down to a nice pour. It's got a nice kind of deep copper color to it, or just medium amber color. It reminds me of some British ales, like, you know, English pale ales, or some lighter versions of the English IPA. The head is very soapy, but it's still a nice 2-3 finger thickness to it. Sort of light caramel color to it. A lot of carbonation on the glass. Sort of looks like a dark lager in terms of carbonation. It's a very interesting smell. It's different from the Diebels I reviewed a couple of reviews ago. The major things I'm getting is probably caramel and raisins, very kind of that dark fruitiness. Raisins, plums, a bit of apple, some definite nice breadiness, so it's very malty. A bit of earthy hoppiness sort of in the background. I think I recall when I had this on tap it was slightly more appealing, but it still smells nice, so let's give it a try. That's a good beer. That's good alt. Not as entirely as smooth as it was on tap, but this is still very tasty and flavorful. It starts out with even a bit of a slight kind of hop bite to it. Then you get the raisin and the apples and everything, the fruitiness, and then it finishes with a nice slightly dry breadiness with a touch of caramel. This is not as sweet as some other alt beers can get, even though alt beers are not really that sweet or styleable. Carbonation is on the high side right now. It's sort of a medium body to it, not light, you know, by any means, but it's not that thick either. No trace of alcohol or anything. You get a slight bitterness at the back, typical kind of German style bitterness, and it's very bready as well. The head is not too impressive actually, it's coming down pretty quickly. Let me pour the rest of it in the bottle because I can fit it all at first. Yeah. So far, I'm not enjoying this entirely as much as I did on tap, but this is still better than Diebels, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm getting more hops now actually. It's that kind of herbal, almost nearly English style hoppiness you get. It's a tasty beer. I had it with food, it was excellent. It's not very hefty, even though it's, as I've said, it's kind of, you know, it's close to the thick side. It's definitely not a light beer to drink. But this is good, especially in the kind of colder weather. If you enjoy the bitterness and the breadiness in the beer at the same time, you're going to like this one. So I'll come back to you and tell you what I think of Duckstein. Alright guys, I'm back with the Duckstein. Alright, let me break it down into categories just to keep it nice and short. For the appearance, I'm going to give this a 7. Head retention is not as impressive right now, there's barely anything on it. But this really did stick around for a longer while than it did, let's say, for Diebels, so, and I gave that a 6, so I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's a nice colour. It looked very nice at first, more than enough head at first actually, it gave me loads, but you know, if you look at performance, it's not as impressive. Then for the aroma, I'll give this an 8. The aroma is pretty strong and apparent. It's malty, it's a bit hoppy, it's fruity, everything's there, everything's pretty solid, so it's a nice aroma as well. As far as the taste goes, this is a strong solid 8, and if this was the tap version, I'd definitely give this like a 9. Again, this is slightly worse than the tap version, so it's just an 8. It's a nice flavour. There's quite a lot going on for this style of beer, for alt beers, which are not, alt beers are not the most complex beers ever. But it's a very ale kind of characteristic you get. I'm definitely getting some hops. I'm not sure if this is my palate that's sort of more developed nowadays than before, because back in the days in some beers I just didn't taste any hops at all, even though there's always some amount of hops added to the beer. It's a fairly bitter beer, so there's a lot of bittering hoppiness in it as well. Apples, slightly nutty, caramel, not a sweet beer as I've said, and very bready in the finish, nice toasted malt characteristic. And then the mouthfeel, I'll give it a 7. It's nice, it's slightly viscous, which some people might find enjoyable, some people might not. It's just a bit too dry at this point, and again I didn't notice that in the tap version, which is much smoother. Slightly spicy, it's very light spiciness on the palate. And the drinkability, I'll give this a solid 8 out of 10 actually. It's pretty much as drinkable as the tap version. This is really good. Overall this is one of the finer alt beers I've had. Definitely better than Diebel's. There's one more I'm going to review sometime. Anyway, overall this is a solid 8 out of 10 for Duckstein Rotblondes Original. And I like this beer. It might not be the authentic, Düsseldorf produced alt beer, but this is still a good example of the style, nevertheless, just my opinion. But this was actually a bit more expensive than all the average kind of beers in Germany. This was over €1 for this bottle, while many beers are like 50, 70, 80 cents there. Either way, that's it for this time, guys. I'm going to enjoy the little bit that's left in the glass. See you guys later. Cheers. Take some good day.